This is the Pioneer DJ PLX-CRSS12, and yes, I had to practice saying that a couple times. This is a pretty good turntable, and it's also a pretty good controller. So if you've ever said something like, I wish my turntable would generate timecode without a record, or I wish my Rain 12 could actually play records, this might be the device for you. A special thanks to Fatty Lumpkin for helping me out with this review. Now, one of the biggest benefits of using timecode records for scratching is that they're resistant to skipping. The signal is robust enough to ignore the needle jumping. But in the moments we're generating timecode, why use a needle at all? The CRSS12 does this digitally instead. On top of that, it has MIDI-mappable buttons on the side, which are not only great for accessing things like hot cues, but for using stems as well. In this case, Fatty has doubled the track in both decks, but is only scratching parts of the song to make a sort of live remix. The best way to wrap your head around the concept is this. Take Pioneer DJ's turntable, the PLX-1000, add some buttons and features to make it friendly for scratch DJs, and make it automatically generate timecode. There's a lot of talk about this being a hybrid controller-slash-turntable thing, but really, that's all that's happening here. It's a great turntable with features made to enhance the experience of Serato or rekordbox-based scratch DJs. And I've got to say, I appreciate some of these added touches, like the included dust cover. It does look nice and clean sitting on top of there with the smoked plastic and the Pioneer DJ logo. I do wish it would snap on here, like some of the third-party covers do, rather than just sitting there. Another nice touch is the new Magvel Clamp. This provides a way to adjust the quote-unquote weight of your records. It's almost like adjusting the tension of your jog wheels on CDJs. Now, we'll come back to this because it's probably the most underrated part of this turntable, and I have a lot more to say about it. Now, here's a little bit of inside baseball. The CRSS12 wasn't originally even on my schedule to be reviewed. However, I was contacted by Alex from the DJ Hookup, who said that they had been rather surprised by the response from their customers on this new hybrid turntable thingy. It turns out there's a mighty need for a device like this, so he suggested I review it for you all today. And the reason I listen to what they have to say over at the DJ Hookup is because they are the highest rated online retailer for DJ hardware. They sent me this CRSS12, and it's also where you should order yours. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff are always ready to help you in the little chat bar, so you can make a good decision about what fits your needs. Sometimes there are offers which their manufacturers won't let them list, so actually it's always a good idea to ask one of their reps if they have any deals going. Plus, they offer a best price guarantee, free shipping, 90-day returns, and financing options. So as always, buy from the folks who sell DJ equipment to their friends, the DJ Hookup.
They're doing good with eliminating the tasks that DJs that hinder their creativity. When you're hearing stuff like a musician, I think all it's great, like anything that people think it's just because of something they've just heard, and that's just part of the vibration. And so, being able to make your idea happen instantly honestly makes you sound good, because the true turntable is that, when you watch the DMC battles and stuff, the things that they're doing and the tricks that they're doing, so the things that you're hearing, like, which is the little remixes of songs that you might know, it's very intricate stuff, but that's because they took months planning and figuring that out and practicing it to make it perfect. And now I'm over here just like taking the acapella and the instrumental and echoing out and stuff like that. That normally took hours to figure out just a 30-second routine to do, and all I got to do is, okay, well, that's already doing it, so I'm just going to move the fader over. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I get your point, but give yourself some credit. Like
well, no, but I mean, like,
it's not doing the heavy lifting for you.
That just takes, like what I said here before with, just takes the creativity to a whole new level.
So looking at the top of the deck here, you can clearly see that it's meant for so-called battle layout. All the fonts or the labels and everything are facing you when it's oriented in this direction. Very scratch-friendly tone arm if you're going to be using that. Down here we have our MIDI controls. We have just a nice simple set of buttons here. These would be by default like your hot cues. You can access your first 4 right there, and then you can push this button here to access 5 through 8. But the cool thing about this is if you go to stems mode by holding shift and pushing hot cues, then those will light up blue, and this gives you access to the stems controls, which as you can imagine is really handy, and as you saw demonstrated by Fatty Lumpkin, makes for some easy access to some creative scratching when doing this kind of separation of instruments and vocals. The motor is very responsive, starting and stopping. All the buttons feel really nice. So that's the default brake, but you can actually change it here. If you want a little bit of a lazier stop, you can switch that to the right. And it'll do more like that. Or you can get pretty instant, just like that. Everything up here looks really nice. I love this black on black finish thing that they've got going on here. This kind of murdered out look, as we say in the car enthusiast world. Up here you can change your tempo range all the way up to 50%. So if you want to, really pitch up or down, you can do that. Here you can do step pitch, and this will actually adjust the exact speed of the platter, and you can kind of like adjust it by key, and it will step by key rather than doing a fluid pitch motion. Here's your reset button if you want a perfect 0% pitch. Here's your needle mode. This is where you can change it to software control, and when you go into this mode, you can choose which deck you're using and which application you're using. And Serato or rekordbox generate different forms of time code, which is why that matters. And so that's the interesting thing about this, is though this is a controller in the sense of having these buttons and things that are MIDI mappable, what it's actually doing is outputting an audio signal of that time code there, and I'll swoop it around. And it's just outputting timecode signal just like it normally would if you were using timecode records here. So you've got your ground there and your USB connection, so your USB-C rather, and you can connect that so that those buttons and things work. And of course there's your power button over there. But yeah, it literally just outputs the timecode signal from there. You can also hold this deck button down to get into your utilities menu. And what this is telling you on the screen here is what buttons do what. So your hot cue and sampler buttons here are your left and right key, and your shift and 5 to 8 key are your enter and exit. And the most interesting thing in here is the torque adjustment. So if you go in here, you can adjust the torque to your own preference. So you've got 3 different levels in there, meaning that you can adjust both the torque and the weight of the record, making this a pretty customizable experience for scratch DJs. Okay, now I want to talk about this Magvel Clamp, because like I said before, I think this is highly underrated. This thing is great. Now what it actually does here is it sort of affixes to the spindle, because this spindle in here, this turning around, is what is controlling the speed of the time code. This needs to be very precise, and so this spindle, holds the record down and makes sure that you've got a nice tight connection there. But this is adjustable, so if you twist it, can see how it gets shorter or taller, and that basically adjusts the effectiveness of this magnet. See, there's a magnet ring here, and then there's a magnet under here, and it literally pulls it up, see? And so you can use that to adjust the so-called weight of your records, which is really neat on its own. But there's an unintended consequence of this that I discovered, which is that it lets you get away with using records that are slightly warped. So if you've ever gotten records that are slightly dished one way or the other, the concave on one side, like my Serato record here, it's hard to tell, but it is very slightly warped. It's raised in the middle, and so when you're scratching on it, it has a tendency to it just kind of goes way faster than you want rather than being grippy. Well, this fixes that. All I have to do is clamp this down. It forms a clamp between those magnets, and next thing you know, I can just dial it in perfectly, and suddenly it's not like it's a warped record at all. So I've tried this with real wax. I've tried it with this timecode record, and it actually fixes some surprising errors as far as warping goes. So this little thing is great and might be worth the price of admission for some. So as is the case with most Pioneer DJ equipment, the discussion must center around the value proposition. So at $13.99 each, yeah, a pair of CRSS12s is not a cheap decision. Technically, you could accomplish all of these things with other hardware, but the benefit and convenience of this turntable lies in its versatility. It's like a Porsche Cayenne Turbo GT. So that's a high-performance SUV that's just as good at taking your kids to soccer practice as it is at handling a day at the track. So that is to say, it's higher end, but not exotic. It's good at almost everything it claims to do. And there are certainly cheaper ways to get the job done. But some people don't want a Porsche track car and a daily driver. They just want one car that can do it all, and look cool doing it.
So I mean, it's crazy, like how us old DJs or the new technology is fixing things that we've been doing, but to new kids, just how, like, you know, the scratch pedals and stuff took turntables to a whole other level that nobody even thought of doing with things. It's like these kids will come in and start doing things that we never even thought of, and it's like, well, what are you, it sounds crazy to us at first, but then it'll sound good or be, you know what I mean? Just
yeah,
how
you have to be open-minded to it.
kids flip stuff, yeah.
And so there you have it, folks. That is the Pioneer DJ PLX-CRSS12. And I think it's a pretty great device, though whether or not it's worth that hefty price is, of course, going to be up to you. I know that it's a tricky price barrier to cross, but again, there is a convenience to having this sort of all-in-one device that is not just a okay turntable controller, but it's really good at both things. So, you know, it really, you have to decide, is it worth the cost of this over, say, getting some other turntable and then adding phase and, you know, a little MIDI controller or something like that for your workflow. Personally, I think this is a great package, and, you know, the turntable feels really great. The torque and the, you know, the brake when you hit stop, all that stuff just gives you a real good feeling of confidence that it's well built. And overall, I think that it's a pretty good product. So if you think that this is the right device for you, once again, head on over to the DJ Hookup and order yours today. I'm David Michael, and this has been Passionate DJ. Keep on spinning.